Hello and welcome to Tracy Mommy Reads. So today I'm going to do something a little different, switching weeks where I do something different versus a book review. And in my past videos, I have talked about how I'm not a big fan of audiobooks, right? However, I love a good scripted storytelling podcast. So in this episode of Tracy Mommy Reads, I'm going to share some of my favorite storytelling podcasts with you guys. So number one, LeVar Burton Reads. Oh my God, if you're a kid that grew up on Reading Rainbow and you're not listening to this podcast, what are you doing with your life? Let me tell you, I think, to be honest, when I came across, I've been listening to his podcast for quite a few years, and after listening to LeVar Burton read short stories, most of them are like sci-fi, fantasy, mystery, kind of in that realm. But after listening to him read those stories, how can you go to an audiobook if it's not the same LeVar Burton energy or tone? I'm just not interested. I cannot listen to someone reading to me unless it's LeVar Burton. I mean, even though he's just reading the story, so it's really almost like an audiobook, right? But it's a short story, and it's normally within 30 minutes, probably 45 minutes at the most. The whole thing is done. It's not like you're listening for days and hours or whatever. But if there's stories that require an accent, and sometimes there's music in the background, making it more ominous. So it's like this experience that you're having. So yeah, if you like that kind of thing, or if you're not a big audiobook, lover of audiobooks either, but maybe if you're exercising or commuting or somewhere where you can't really read a book, but you'd like to hear a story, LeVar Burton Reads is a wonderful podcast. Highly recommend. Number two, The Truth. I stumbled across this about 3 or 4 years ago, and it was a real creepy story that I listened to, and it was nighttime, and I was in the car. I was like, okay, I don't know if this was a good idea. But their stories, they're not reading stories, they're acting out stories. So it's like a scripted podcast, like as if you were watching or listening to rather a television show or series. Some of them are funny, some of them are sad, some of them are set in a post-apocalyptic world, some of them are dealing with technology. I mean, it's just, the stories are so vast, and the voice talent is incredible. They have people, even you can tell by the inflections, there's people of all different diverse backgrounds, older, younger, and all of their stories, I want to say they're probably 30 minutes or shorter, but they're really good. You get immersed, especially if you're listening with earphones, because there's sounds in the background. There's different, if it's a conversation between a man and a woman, there's a man and a woman talking, two different distinct voices. And again, it's like you're listening to a show. It's not the same as somebody just reading a story that you could go check out at the library. All of these are original stories that the producers or creators of that particular podcast have put together. And that one is called The Truth. Love, love, love it. Bronzeville. Okay, so Bronzeville, that's third on my list. I don't even know how I've been numbering these. But Bronzeville is from actor Lorenz Tate and his brothers from their studio. And it's kind of in the same vein of The Truth, except it's a whole show basically. So it's really you're invested in a primetime or drama series, and then every episode kind of continues where the last one left off. With The Truth, they're all different stories. Every time you listen, none of them are interconnected or anything, unless they're doing a series. But Bronzeville, oh my God, the voice talent. It is a all African-American cast, and it basically takes place in the I don't know if it's fictional or there is a city that I think that it's based on. But Bronzeville is the city, and it's like takes place like maybe in the 40s, I'm thinking. And this guy comes to, from the south up to Bronzeville, which is like in Chicago, New York area, something like that, to, for a better life, and, to the big city to make his mark, and starts getting involved with all these shady characters. And Lorenz Tate voices the main character in the story. You got like Lawrence Fishburne and Tika Sumpter and oh my God, it's just so many people. I'm like having a total brain fart right now, but it is a really good and suspenseful story that will also keep you on the edge of your seat. So be sure you check that one out. Number 4, The Bright Sessions. The Bright Sessions is such an interesting concept. And again, much like Bronzeville, it is a continuation type story. So every podcast episode continues from the last podcast. Again, like you're invested in a show or something. And The Bright Sessions is about a therapist by the name of Dr. Bright, female therapist, who her patients are unique in that they have like superpower abilities. And she is someone who is like kind of helping these people, and they call them atypicals in this like world. They're called atypicals as opposed to superheroes or superpowers or whatever. They call their powers abilities. And she's just kind of trying to help them deal with the pressure and anxieties that they feel around having these abilities, and in some cases being like ostracized, from society. And she used to work at a place called the AM, which it stood for Atypical Monitoring, where they were supposed to be helping these people, but a lot of times they ended up torturing them or doing experiments on them. So the cool thing about the Bright Sessions is that it ended, but they've now picked up, because at the end of like the Bright Sessions, something happened where, it was a happy-ish ending, but they're picking up like with part 2 now. It's called the AM Archives, because now Dr. Bright has gone back to the AM and they're trying to turn things around. So it is a very interesting. If you are, a big fan of superheroes or stories like that, you will love this one. And for me, because, I think I've talked about this in another video, I also like the whole therapist, standpoint. Tell me, how are you feeling? I love that kind of thing where, you're delving into a character's psyche. So to have that coupled with superpowers, forget about it. It's incredible. You should definitely check that out. And then the last one on my list is a podcast that I actually just started listening to. I finished it and I cannot wait for season 2. It stars Cynthia Erivo. Hopefully I'm saying her name right. But this one is called Carrier, and talk about an immersive experience. So this one again is one of those that continues from the previous one that you've listened to, and it follows this woman who is a truck driver. Like she does like long hauls, like she's a 18-wheeler semi truck driver type person, and does picks up different things and carries them across state lines into different places or whatever. And she kind of took over after her dad fell ill. Well, she's really strapped for money, because she's trying to get money to pay for his medical bills and stuff. So she takes on this job, and she's carrying something in her in the back of her truck that it's alive, whatever it is. It's like moving, it's breathing, it's trying to get out. It's really a nail biter. And when you're listening to this, like all of these podcasts that I recommended today, except for the LeVar Burton reads, he's legitimately just actually reading stories, but he just does it with such a flair. But the other 4, the background noises, the voices, like you in the Carrier, you can hear highway noise, you can hear gears being switched, you can hear when she's the brakes screeching on the truck when she stops, you can hear like nails on metal when this thing is trying to get out of the back of her trailer or whatever. So to me, that's those kind of stories I can get into. Not you just sounding like the Charlie Brown adults in what I feel like is how most audiobooks are. But these are really good. I mean, they're good to listen to, like, like I said, if you're commuting, if you're walking or exercising, or even if late at night, if you're in the bed and all the lights are out, if it's just somewhere where you can't like actually read a physical book. These are some great alternatives. So if you've, listened to any of these podcasts, or if you have some that, in a similar vein that you think I'd enjoy, let me know in the comments. Thanks for listening and make sure that you like this video and subscribe to my channel for future updates. I'll see you guys next week with another book review. Have a great weekend.